Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. We have talked about a lot of things over the last number of weeks. The one thing we haven't talked about that is kind of critical at this point, especially in the light of all the changes that are happening with COVID 19, all the concerns that are out and about, the thing we haven't talked about is why I have chosen the path of becoming a spiritual guide. Well, and for that matter, what a spiritual guide is in my eyes. Now, the reality of it is this. In my opinion, I did not actually choose the path, at least not from a mortal standpoint. I kind of landed in it. This said, my understanding of my birth path was a little strange, but the reality of what I do know is I was baptized Roman Catholic. Okay, baptized Christian. So my understanding as far as my early teachings were came about because of those teachings. I was baptized Roman Catholic in spite of the fact that my parents and my whole family was multidenominational Protestant. We grew up on a military base. So I got the whole 9 yards that way. I ended up growing up in that environment. Now, to start with, everything went great. I spent years in the church. I did teach for a while. I taught about the Bible the way that it was taught to me. Then, many years later, if I recall the numbers correctly, about 13, there was a massive letdown where I hit a point. Of course, 13 years later means I was sitting at, well, about 13 years old, I think. Basically, I bore witness to extreme hypocrisy inside the church I was raised in. Now, that led to me walking away from the church altogether. Okay, I talked to a lot of different people from a lot of different religious teachings and discovered the same thing, a staggering amount of hypocrisy. They were saying one thing and doing completely the opposite. So, net result, I became agnostic. I turned my back on organized religion entirely. Didn't matter what the religion was. I just didn't want anything to do with it. I turned away from that. Never gave up on what I came to understand as God. You may call him by some other name. In all fairness, the way I was brought up, God is known by many names in many worlds. Okay, lots of people call him different things. Okay, but I grew up believing, I still, even though I walked away from the church, from organized religion on the whole, I still believed wholeheartedly in God and in what I came to understand. I do not fear God. I do not fear him. I do not sit there going, oh, he's going to strike me dead. Okay, I've been dead often enough to know better, or at least not on a permanent level. But I became absolutely agnostic. I reconnected with Earth, with the animals, with the plants. Okay, still believe in God wholeheartedly. Okay, so I came to understand that whole connection in a different way, and I came to see all people from every walk of life, from every income bracket, every orientation, every race. And rest assured, even though humans come in multiple colors, they're all human. Okay, to me, that's the race. Okay, now my understanding, there's a whole lot to go there, but anyway, where I come from, the way I came to see the world was everybody was the same. Everybody has certain similarities, certain things in common. Okay, and they all rely on the animals and the plants of this planet as well as the atmosphere. Everyone is connected, is what I came to understand. Well, this went on for a number of years, and I ended up going into a number of different fields. still dealing with people, talking to people about what I saw as their complications. Net result, I ended up working in the psychic industry. Now, I never did personally like the term psychic, but that's what most people use. I adopted and took to heart the concept of a spiritual guide. I was not here to pass judgment on you or on anybody else, but it was a massive journey. In time, I ended up talking to people a lot more directly, such as I'm doing with you right now. And rest assured, I have fought it tooth and nail. This is not where I saw my life going, but it is where it is. Okay, I got called back to deal with this, to point out to people, especially under the umbrella of the COVID situation. Everybody on this planet is together. Now, this said, take a look at whoever you're following as a spiritual guide. I personally am not into a whole lot of the ceremonies, a whole lot of the different patterns that people take, that people follow. Now, don't get me wrong, there is something very strong to be said about symbology, about ritual. Okay, about ritual behavior. Such as, you know, there is, in my opinion, there is something positive to be said about gathering with people of like mind. If the people of like mind are actually following a positive example. Okay, so let's get to the basics here. Well, I think we already got to the basics, but gathering under the umbrella of COVID, gathering together is absolutely a bad idea in my opinion. Okay, absolutely categorically just wrong. We have video conferencing, we have computers, therefore it's very easy to get together in group settings. Okay, technology does provide that. Now, technology has done a lot of damage, in my opinion, but not half as much as what fear has done. So, where it comes to whatever you want to call, where it comes to what I call Source or God, okay, I do not fear it at all. And I use the term Him simply because I could say Him here, it every time. It's just easier to go with one. Okay, now, the way I understand it, the people out there that gather and they sit together in a building and they pray with each other. Okay, that is great. It builds fellowship. It gives you a sense of support when you're having trouble. And I mean, let's face it, even those that don't pray. Okay, people. One thing we have found with people on the whole, if somebody's feeling down and you know them, getting a hug from them does make you feel better. The proximity does help. Under COVID-19, that's a bit of a problem. But there are those that believe that when you pray, you get down on your knees, you raise your hands to the skies. There are others that believe if you get down on your knees and you touch your forehead to the ground, it brings you into a better, into a more receptive state. Now, do what you will on either one of those. For me, I'm a firm believer that I'm that way anyway. I don't have to physically get down on my knees. Right. I don't have to get down because, in my opinion, my God loves me the way I am. There's a lot of people that, on the other hand, down here really don't. But that's okay. I do not believe that giving money to God myself, that giving money to God is going to do him much good. He can't use it. And besides that, when you have the ability to go, I desire a people to follow me, he doesn't really need money to make that happen. However, money is a barter system on this planet, and the money and the world does look at money in a very, very simple fashion. This said, okay, I'm not stupid enough to say if somebody offers me free food or offers me money, I'm not stupid enough to say no. And to me, that really would be kind of dense. On the other hand, like when you're on the street, not when you are on the street, but when you meet somebody on the street, I will stop and find out what put them there. Okay, simply because the greater majority of people are there because they don't know where else to go. Okay, and there's a lot of things against that, but I do not look down on anyone for the state they're in, nor do I look up to anyone for the amount of money they have. Okay, I'm just, quite frankly, to me, they're no different than I am. Okay, doesn't matter how much somebody has, doesn't matter what gender you are. Okay, everybody is, in my eyes, equal. Their behavior is what creates the interesting situation. Now, I'm not hard to find, hence why I've got a whole list of ways of contacting me below this video. Okay, and if you desire to reach out, you've got any questions, any field, ask me. If I don't know, I will tell you I don't know. Okay, I do not know everything. I am certainly not perfect. But what I'm talking about is working together. Okay, where you go to do your worshiping, some people go out in the bush. I would go out in the bush. The only problem is I'd get lost out there. Okay, but do I talk to the trees? Do I talk to the animals? Do I talk to people? All of the answers to those is yes. Okay, do I get answers from all of them? The answer is also yes. Okay, so this is why I talk about being a spiritual guide, because I literally talk to all of it. The rocks, the trees, they all have stories. You just have to remember how to get out of your own way, how to bypass the idea that just because you happen to be bipedal, you've got two legs, you've got two arms, whatever. Just because you're built that way does not mean you're the only one with a communication line. Okay, there are many songs that talk about different ways of picking up information. Most of them I end up utilizing. Okay, now there are many people that are what others call mentally challenged. I don't look down on any of them. Now, granted, I do not know how, I don't have, well, there's a lot of things I don't have. I do my best to treat everybody the same way. This doesn't always work for me. Okay, one thing I certainly don't agree with is the idea that if you're following a spiritual leader, that spiritual leader should be accessible. The idea of the spiritual leader holding themselves up somewhere way out in the middle of nowhere in a fenced off, secure compound with weapons does not, to me, make a spiritual leader. There's another term for it, and I'll let you figure that one out. Okay, I don't walk around with bodyguards, primarily because I'm not really in the spotlight yet. One day I may be. Who knows? Okay, that's up to you people. You know, as I said, I will talk to anybody. I will answer any questions that I can. If you've got concepts, and while I'm thinking of that, please like my video. Subscribe to my channel so you can see all the information coming up, because it's coming up on a lot of different fronts. Okay. Some of the venues I'm in, and some of the venues listed below, are email, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Okay. Now, how you get in touch with me, that's up to you. But the reason I am doing this is because I keep finding people that really strike me as very intelligent, but they are still, on the whole, buying into massive fear, trying to point out what other people are doing wrong. Okay, what they should be doing. And totally ignoring what they themselves are doing as well. Okay, there's nobody perfect on the planet. Have I walked, do I put garbage in the garbage? Absolutely. Have I walked by some that somebody else has put down and that has been thrown on the ground? You bet. Have I picked stuff up off the ground? Have I gone out of my way to do that in front of other people or without them? Yes. Okay, these are all things that I talk about you as individuals, regardless of where you're from, regardless of what your background is. These are the things that must be done by everybody. If we all work together, we will get through any hardship we come across. Okay, of course, if we keep fighting with each other, it will tear the planet apart. It will make it completely uninhabitable by humans. Okay, and for that matter, by everybody else. I was absolutely amazed and just thrilled when I heard from somebody that dolphins had returned after over a decade to the coast of Italy. Now, I haven't gone to Italy, I can't tell you. I've never been to Italy. So I go with somebody said that's what they heard. And to me, that was great. Okay, now I'm talking to people across the world. Okay, and the reason I say that is because of one little factor. I've got a few contacts, but if you're out there listening to this, you may be somewhere else. I'm in Canada. I have no idea where you are. I just haven't looked at the video records to find out where anything goes. But that's a slow curve. So, I am doing my best to talk to you about what is really imperative while implementing the same things I'm talking to you about. As in, getting my house organized, getting my office sorted around, getting me sorted around. And rest assured, that's a mess. But a spiritual guide is not somebody that is perfect. Okay, they just aren't. They are simply somebody that is doing the best with what they've learned to pass it on. This is why I'm taking a look at it from my perspective. Now, the odd part about it is this. I could go through and do the research and find out about every single one of the religions and point out where the complications are. Much as I've got copies of a lot of the Bibles, I have not read them cover to cover. What I do know, though, is that people on this planet are all essentially the same. Matter of fact, people on this planet and any other one that I've run into are all pretty much the same. They all have their own feelings. They all desire to be respected. And look at yourself. Do you like having your own freedom? Do you like having your own perspective? Do you like being respected? Do you like being heard? Do you like feeling like you matter? Okay, I like all of the above. The hardest challenge on the planet is looking at yourself, at least from what I've come to understand. The hardest challenge is looking at yourself and going forwards. I am worth it. Those 4 words, I literally put on cardstock, had them laminated, they're on my fridge. Okay, I also have a hand burned plaque that says the same thing that I made myself. It sits in my office. Okay, take a look at yourself and ask yourself, when you really look at it, are you any different from other people? You're all unique. Okay, you all have potential to become incredible people, to become incredibly successful. There are dozens, there are hundreds of examples of people that have gone from, as the saying goes, gone from rags to riches, and from riches to rags. I think the best way I ever heard it put from somebody was, I've been miserable poor and I've been miserable rich. Hands down, I would rather be miserable rich. Now, I've been on the end of being in a religious organization, being in a church, teaching what was taught, questioning everything. There was one thing I learned growing up. It was question everything until it makes sense to you. My father was very specific about it. Okay, and he said, read your religious tome yourself to get the understanding. And to this day, I still haven't finished. I'm in the middle of it right now. But I still haven't finished reading the thing. But that being said, what I did get out of that was question everything. So I'm not asking you to take my word for what I'm telling you. Look into what I say. Do your own research. Talk to your own people, the people you trust. Now, I will tell you, a lot of my perspectives challenge what other people see. However, over time, perhaps you will see a little glimmer of something that I see that other people may be overlooking, or that I may be looking at something from a different angle that you may not have thought about. With this in mind, absolutely, I encourage you to subscribe to my video, to follow with the videos coming out, and I've got to get back into more of a stable routine. This is one of the things that I have really been lax on in the last week. It's been challenging, to say the least. But the trick is, regardless of the path you're trying to follow, regardless of what project or what goal you have, do not give up on your dreams. But use your brains. You have to have an income over your head. You've got to have a way. Now, whether that income is other people helping you, so you're sharing in the spiritual side of it, or whether you're actually getting cash flow, that's your issue. That's your decision. But keep your head on straight as to what you desire. If something doesn't feel right, make a change to it. Okay? When I talk about guiding people to work together, I'm not talking about converting you from one religion to another. Okay? To me, it doesn't matter what building you go to, it doesn't matter what rituals you have, providing you're not hurting other people in set rituals. It does not matter. I follow 3 karmic laws. Okay? But I was asked the other day about how I was going to go about it, and frankly, I really don't have a solid answer. I do know that my perspective is different. I see everybody and everything in the same light. Okay, I treat everybody I meet the same way to start with. Now, am I perfect? No, I'm really not. Okay, but I do my best to follow my own belief, to stay focused on the direction I'm heading. And I encourage you to follow me, to follow me down that same road. It may not be to the same destination. This is certainly not the path I was laying out for myself when I was a kid. This is why for the last more than 10 years, really, I became reclusive. I pulled away from everybody. I withdrew into my own little world. I still watched what was going on. I still maintained my connection with God, with nature. Okay, I never turned my back on that, on either one of those. And I came to see this world in a very different light than what I was being taught. Okay, so where it comes to the spiritual side of this world, okay, it's time to understand that's where everything starts. It starts up in the spiritual side. Once it starts there, it comes down into the mental, and then finally into the physical. Okay, now my memories are a little bit more involved than some people's as far as past goes. But that being said, I've got my own personal connection with what I came to understand as God or Source. I understand from people I've talked to, there are a lot of different names people use, but it all boils down to the same thing: belief in a higher power. And for those of you that don't believe in a higher power, don't. I'm not here to judge anybody on that note. All I'm saying is follow what I'm talking about and follow the videos. I will do my best to be clear. Contact me with any questions you have. Doesn't really matter what they are. I've been doing this publicly for, 47 years now. Okay, I've been actually doing this since I was born, but it became public knowledge when I was 10. So, for the time being, I'm going to leave you with that thought. Until we meet again, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.